I was invited specifically to talk about anti-Semitism post-October the 7th at the school. I think there was a feeling among some students at that school who were from Jewish or Israeli backgrounds that they'd been rather underrepresented in the previous 17 months. And it's a school made up of pupils from all around the world, from very special backgrounds like royal families down to refugees from war zones themselves. And through a system of scholarships, they managed to educate them all together. So it has this very special vision, apparently, of spreading understanding of different groups and different peoples. But apparently that doesn't count for Jews, because when it came time to book me, they had 3 meetings with me, 3 very long meetings over Zoom and the phone, trying to explain the sensitivities of the crowd and the things I could and couldn't talk about. But then at the last minute, they just told me, actually, you can't come here. It's a safeguarding issue. The children will feel unsafe from your presence, and all you can do is submit a pre-recorded video if you like. I did decline that, but I felt that really this was the opposite of the mission of that school. And I have since discovered, actually, that they had another talk before me, which they did the same thing with. They had it was meant to be 2 people, a Jew and a Muslim, who had come in together to present 2 sides of an experience, and they even cancelled them. So I'm not really sure what their defence can be for cancelling both of these talks.
I mean, what kind of terrible, traumatic things would you have told the students then?
It's hard to know. I did ask, actually, what they felt was threatening about me or what they were afraid of, especially as if I could be there in a video but not in person. It implied somehow that actually my person, me being in the room with the children, was somehow endangering them, albeit emotionally, apparently. I think, in truth, I don't even know if it was a group of children who were the problem, or if it was perhaps some of the teachers or staff who'd made the decision on their behalf. And I have heard since then, by the way, from many people who've been to that school in the past. It's a special-sounding school, and people stay attached to it for all of their lives. But quite a few of them have been writing to me saying that actually this isn't really a freak event. It's not something that is an anomaly. It's something which actually they feel has been happening for some years in that school, and that's even more worrying, I must say.
Well, it might not just be this particular school. It might have been happening really in all of our schools in terms of fostering any level of debate or a deeper understanding into some of these issues. And that's why I guess it's so important, exactly, that you go out there. Maybe you're in a school where someone's never met someone who's Jewish before. If you can just sort of sit there and just explain some of the issues that are surrounding some of the things they might have seen on social media, surely that's a good thing in terms of fighting the narrative.
One of the most extraordinary things, actually, they said to me in the conversations was that there was a possibility that some of the pupils who come from war zones or places that were actually directly affected by what's going on in the Middle East might say something that I would perceive as being anti-Semitic, and that might be bad for them in their reputation. So the idea was not even that the anti-Semitic statement aimed at me would be a problem, and that there could be someone there who would say something racist. It was that it could be negatively impacting on that pupil, when in actual fact, I'll tell you, I've been in plenty of situations where I can give talks or even have met people one-on-one where they might say something anti-Semitic, but through conversation and dialogue and mutual understanding, it's often possible to explain to people why what they've said isn't necessarily correct, and to have a proper discussion with them. And the thing about a pre-recorded video was I wouldn't see a single child. I wouldn't see how anyone was reacting to what I was saying. And that's what they'd asked me to be aware of. So it seemed like the worst possible solution to a made-up problem.
A few days ago, there was a protest in front of the LSE because there's been a book published there, or it wasn't published there, it was released there, basically called Understanding Hamas. Is this actually about free speech as such, or do you think that the LSE are adding validity to a book called Understanding Hamas by having the event there?
I think the problem with the book, by the way, is that it doesn't really help your understanding of Hamas if you read it, because it's a very selective, kind of slightly fantasized version of Hamas, and it doesn't really talk about the group's origins properly. It may have been founded in 1987 by the Palestinians, but in actual fact, it's an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, which had been banned from Egypt and then found fertile ground in Gaza. Then they started the Mujama al-Islamiyah, which was a sort of group intended to build a solid Islamic ethnic Palestinian identity, and that in turn then formed into Hamas, which was the militarized terrorist wing. But that was always the intention. Jihadism is what lies behind all three of those groups that I've mentioned, and jihadism has often worked in that way. When al-Banna started the Muslim Brotherhood, that was exactly the way in which he did it. He started with civil life. He started with universities, education, hospitals, dentists, schools. But of course, the plan, and mosques, of course, was always to expand that out once you've built the network for jihad, killing Jews, holy war, spreading Islam. That's what Hamas does. So the book itself, in that respect, in my opinion, is complete junk. And that's why a university like LSE probably shouldn't have been hosting an event about it. It's not about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech says anyone saying anything legal should be allowed to. But a university platforming or making an event around something which is quite obviously really very faulty, justifying terrorism, trying to remove anti-Semitism from the very nature and core of Hamas, all of those things, that's what's problematic to me. And I think that university really should hang its head in shame for having done that.
A spokesperson, by the way, from UWC Atlantic released the following statement. The safety and well-being of our students remain our highest priority. We have a deep responsibility to ensure all discussions are conducted with sensitivity.